Hello everybody, Big Planes here, and now that we've gotten past the intro that you've probably heard too many times now, I'm going to talk about the next project, since a lot of you were leaving a lot of different suggestions in the comments section of the last video of what it should be. It was already decided when I made that video, so I am hearing what you're saying, and I'll get into more of that later in this video, but as you could probably tell from the thumbnail, it's gonna be a 727, alright? So before you go down and spam saying, I want you to do this, I wanted you to do that, we're gonna touch on this plane here first, and then I'll get into why I chose the 727, and which livery it's gonna be, and what we're gonna do with it in general, or some projected goals. So in this one, I know I set out not update you more on this, but this video isn't about the 787, so I can sort of give you small updates on it. Towards the tail, a lot of you were complaining about how terrible the tapering looks, so this is ideas that I have. I'm going to use this wedge and maybe some other techniques. Again, the lighting in here is terrible at this time. This area will be cleaned up. Obviously, it's not done yet. Don't worry about that, and we still need to send the tail off to get printing, and I still need to do some stuff further down here. The nose, the bottom here, I never did finish at, and the flap tracks on the bottom of the wings, and the flaps do function, just so you know. So that's what we're looking for at the end of this project. We're very close. A couple more weeks, I should have the video up. Hopefully that tail doesn't take too long to print, but that's it for this project. That was really fun. It was huge, but I want to talk about the 727 project, and in particular, why I chose it. Sorry. Now, I know a lot of you are probably going to go into the comment section saying, why did you not do an Airbus? Why aren't you doing Airbuses? And you're a Boeing fanboy, blah, 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 blah. Well, there's a reason why I'm doing the 727, and there's a reason why I do mostly Boeing aircraft. Now, there are exceptions to that, and there will be exceptions to that, so please take that in mind. But Boeing has been around quite a bit longer than Airbus. There's no denying that. I believe Airbus has been around since the late 90s, maybe 80s, I don't know. But Airbus came into existence when twin-engine jets, like this one over here, and the 787, were beginning to be realized that these were the planes of the future. They're more efficient, they're better for airlines. Once the engines became more efficient, once the ETOPS regulations were being lifted, they figured out that twin-engine aircraft like these planes here were more efficient. Whereas Boeing has been doing aircraft since, I believe, the very beginning. They did like the B-17, the B-52 later on in the military side of things, and they had earlier aircraft like the 707, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure you heard of that. But the thing with them is that back in the day, they didn't know what design was the best. The engines were not as reliable, they were not as powerful, and you know, they were sort of experimenting with it. So the 707 had 4 engines, even though its fuselage was the same size as this thing. The 727, because they wanted to be able to fly over oceans while maintaining a smaller aircraft, they put 3 engines on it. It was a tri-jet because the ETOPS regulations meant they couldn't fly a twin jet over the oceans. The 747, the very first wide-body passenger aircraft, you know, high bypass engines. So that was the time when companies were still experimenting with aircraft designs. So, you know, weird things like the hump on the 747, or the engine in the tail on the 727, or even smaller stuff like the flat bottom engines on the 737. They were still experimenting, trying to get the design. Whereas when Airbus came into existence, most companies already knew that twin engines aircraft like this were the most efficient ones, which is why most of the Airbus aircraft, not all, most of them are twin-engine aircraft, like the A321, A320, A330. A340 is not twin-engine, but most of them are, and to be frank, unless you're a real like aviation spotter, you can't tell them apart that much. Now, the exception to that, and I did say this earlier on in the video, that there are exceptions to that, is the A380 and the A340 for me. Those are the 2 exceptions. The A380 obviously is very recognizable. It's the largest aircraft in the world. It's massive double-decker. It has those 4 gigantic engines. It makes the 747 look like a tiny little thing. So, yeah, that's the exception to the Airbus one. In the A340, especially the 600 variant, you know, it's big. It's a single-deck 4-engine aircraft. It's quite impressive to see, and I did see one at the airport recently, but unfortunately, aircraft like that are disappearing very quickly to the twin jets. So sorry about the little history lesson there, but that's why I generally do Boeing aircraft over Airbus. I will do Airbus aircraft. definitely after the 727, but don't get like super pissed when I do another Boeing one. So yeah, when it comes to the livery though, it's going to be in Southwest. So I know I'm going to have to explain myself to this one too, because most people think of Southwest Aircraft as the 737. If you're not from America, that's like the budget airline for a lot of us. But yeah, most people think they just operate 737s, but that's not true. Actually, in a year of back in the late 80s, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong there, they operated 727s. And since I do live in California and it's sort of in the southwestern area, I wanted to sort of make an homage to the aircraft and sort of the airline itself in the older sort of desert livery, which is that dark tan and red and orange color. So that's why I wanted to do that. I know some of you are going to think it looks absolutely terrible, but that is why I'm doing that color, and it's not a huge project, all right? And here's how I'm planning on going about this. The color scheme, unfortunately, since those windows are the main limiting factor. These windows right here, I'll try to get a little closer. Sorry, the bad lighting in this room. These windows here are the limiting factor, and they're only available in so many colors. So I'll put a picture up on the screen right now for you so you can see what the aircraft actually looks like. But you can see that it's sort of dark tannish on the top and red on the bottom, and there's some orange stripes going through the tail. I have to settle on standard tan, which I did build an aircraft in it. That's way up there. It's my World War I bomber. That's the color that I would have to go for with this. It's more of a standard tan than more of the darker tan that it should be, but it should be close enough. And another reason I'm going with this is, as you can tell, there are a lot of white aircraft, and I wanted a plane that isn't white. So the brownish sort of gold color scheme with the red and orange I thought was a very unique color scheme. It may not be the most attractive at first, but it kind of grows on you. I kind of like the idea of the red on the bottom and the orange going through the tail. So that's going to be fun. I'm not sure how I'm going to motorize the aircraft because the engines, as you know, on the 727 are tiny. They're low bypass engines, so they're in the tail, and I don't know if I can get those fans to spin because they're just so tiny. But I have some ideas. I think I will like that one. This one does have the air stairs coming out the back, sort of under the engines where the T-tail is, so that's going to be really fun. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting. And something else that a lot of you may not know, but I know a lot of you do know, especially the more aviation enthusiasts of you out there, is that the 737 and the 727 both sort of share a lot of features that are a little closer than you'd think. So the nose on this aircraft right here, the 737, it's the same on the 727. So obviously I'll tweak it a little, but that's mostly going to be carried over to the 727. The fuselage, the cross section here, I'll come a little closer here. This door's in too far here. Popped out for you. The fuselage, yeah, it'll be the same design. So we'll have these curved slopes on the top. It'll look very smooth. Of course, this will be in tan, and the bottom curved slopes, these will be in red. So again, I'm just going to carry that over. Then it sort of stops. The wings, that's going to be interesting because I used these pieces here, these pylons, to sort of hide the joint between them. So that'll be interesting. The wings will be tough, and the T-tail will be tough. I'm still not sure what techniques I'm going to use for the engines. But yeah, those are just some ideas. I'm not going to start building it immediately, actually. I'm going to show you how I plan the plane because I haven't really started planning it yet because I'm still trying to deal with this sucker right here because, you know, I want to touch it up in some areas. I'm finished the tail. I'm gonna have to send those parts out. I want to finish this plane first, get the ground vehicles, all that crap, and then I'll start ordering parts for this. But I do need to start planning this aircraft and sort of understanding what parts I'm going to need for it pretty soon here. So I'm going to show you how I decide how many parts I need. That might be boring. If it's boring, then you don't have to watch the videos, but I'm going to show you how I decide how many parts I need. I'm going to show you how I make the blueprints. I did make a video on how to make blueprints a while back, but I don't think many people have seen it since then, and I'll show you how I go about thinking of certain techniques and stuff. It'll be fun. I'll go more into depth than I usually do on how I plan these things. And then, of course, we'll go ahead and build it like I normally do. So hopefully this one shouldn't take too long. It should be fairly straightforward. I know I say that a lot, but they're not always straightforward. I always run into some roadblock that makes it really difficult, but yeah, after that, I'm not sure. I'm considering, please don't take this as I will. I'm considering doing an A380 after the 727, maybe during the summer. There'll probably be time between the 727 being complete and the summer that I will probably throw in some smaller aircraft, maybe a Cessna, maybe some small military stuff, maybe some cargo stuff, I don't know. But during the summer, I may build an A380. I don't know. I'm still looking into it because that thing is absolutely massive. It would cost a lot of money and, you know, I'm not rich. So we'll see. But this has already been a 10-minute video, and I know I don't usually make them this long. If you've stuck around to the end, I really appreciate you doing that. And I'm going to end this here. I hope you enjoy the next plane I'm building, because I sure do. I enjoy making these videos. I hope you enjoy watching them. And that's all I really have for this video. Bye for now.